Some dresses don't just turn heads. They completely rewrite fashion history the moment they appear. And when it comes to gowns that look like they've stepped straight out of a fairy tale, one name keeps coming up again and again: Elie Saab. What makes this even more surprising is that these aren't costumes or movie props. These are real gowns worn on the world's biggest stages, under the brightest lights, with millions watching. Yet somehow, they manage to feel almost unreal, like something designed for royalty in another world. Over the years, some of the biggest celebrities have trusted Saab for their most important moments. And almost every time, the result wasn't just beautiful, it became unforgettable. We're talking about dresses that didn't just trend for a night. They stayed in conversations for years. But here's the thing, not all Elie Saab gowns are equal. A few of them cross that invisible line between fashion and fantasy. And once you see them, it's hard to unsee just how magical they really are. And the first one on this list didn't just make headlines, it made history. Angelina Jolie, the effortless goddess look. Because not every fairy tale moment needs to be loud to leave a mark. And Angelina Jolie proved that in the most subtle way possible. Unlike dramatic ball gowns or heavily layered designs, Jolie's Elie Saab appearances often leaned into something quieter, but no less captivating. Flowing fabrics, soft neutral tones, and silhouettes that moved like water. It was the kind of elegance that didn't demand attention, but somehow held it anyway. One of the most striking things about her looks was how effortless they felt. There was no sense of trying too hard. The gowns didn't overpower her, they enhanced her presence. Whether it was a champagne-toned dress with delicate detailing or a soft, draped silhouette that caught the light just right, the effect was always the same: calm, controlled, and completely mesmerizing. And that's where Saab's genius really started to show. He wasn't just designing fairy tale dresses in the traditional sense. He was redefining what that even meant. Instead of princess-like volume and sparkle, Jolie's looks felt more like something out of a modern myth, graceful, powerful, and timeless. It also revealed something important about Saab's range. He could go bold and dramatic, but he could also strip everything back and still create something magical. And just when it seemed like fairy tale fashion couldn't get any softer or more dreamlike, someone else took that idea and gave it an entirely new twist. Taylor Swift, the modern-day princess moment. Because when Taylor Swift stepped into her early red carpet era, she didn't just wear dresses. She stepped fully into a fantasy. During the early 2010s, especially around her red era, Swift began appearing in soft, pastel-toned Elie Saab gowns that felt like they belonged in a storybook. Light pinks, pale blues, flowing chiffon. It all created this delicate, almost weightless effect. The kind of look that felt youthful, romantic, and just a little bit unreal. But what made it stand out wasn't just the design, it was the timing. At that point in her career, Swift was transitioning from country star to global pop icon. Her image was evolving, and these gowns played a huge role in shaping that perception. They made her feel approachable, yet elevated, like a modern princess people could actually relate to. And unlike heavier couture pieces, these dresses moved with her. Every step, every turn, it all added to that dreamy illusion. It wasn't stiff or overly structured. It was soft, fluid, and almost cinematic. For a younger audience especially, this became their introduction to Elie Saab. Suddenly, couture didn't feel distant or unattainable. It felt magical, but still within reach. And just when that soft, romantic energy became Saab's signature in the public eye, another celebrity came in and flipped the entire idea of fairy tale fashion on its head. Blake Lively, red carpet royalty. Because Blake Lively didn't just wear Elie Saab gowns, she turned them into statements. Where Taylor Swift brought softness, Blake brought presence. Her Elie Saab looks often leaned into bold textures, rich colors, and intricate embellishments that demanded attention the second she stepped onto the carpet. These weren't quiet fairy tales anymore. These were full royal entrances. What made her appearances so unforgettable was the level of detail. We're talking about gowns covered in hand-sewn embellishments, fabrics that caught the light from every angle, and silhouettes that felt larger than life. Every look felt intentional, almost theatrical, but never overdone. And Blake carried them with a kind of confidence that elevated everything even further. She didn't disappear into the dress amplified her. Whether it was a heavily embroidered gown or something with dramatic structure, the result always felt powerful. Like she wasn't just attending an event, she was owning it. This marked another evolution in Saab's fairy tale aesthetic. It proved that fantasy didn't always have to be soft or delicate. It could be bold, commanding, and impossible to ignore. And just when it seemed like Elie Saab's gowns had explored every version of magic, the next moment would take that fantasy and fuse it with pure star power in a way no one expected. Beyonce, when power meets fantasy. And just when it felt like Elie Saab gowns had reached their peak in elegance and drama, Beyonce stepped in and changed the energy completely. Because Beyonce doesn't just wear a dress, she transforms it into a moment. When she appeared in Elie Saab designs, the fairy tale aesthetic didn't disappear, it evolved. The soft, princess-like fantasy was still there, but now it carried something stronger: confidence, control, and undeniable presence. These gowns weren't just about looking beautiful anymore. They were about owning the spotlight. Think about the way Saab's signature elements, intricate beading, sheer layers, and flowing silhouettes, took on a different life with her. Under stage lights or flashing cameras, every crystal seemed sharper, every movement more intentional. It wasn't delicate magic anymore. It was commanding. And that's what made it so unforgettable. Beyoncé brought a sense of authority to the fairy tale concept. She proved that you could look ethereal and powerful at the same time, like a queen who doesn't need a crown to be recognized. The gowns didn't soften her image, they amplified her dominance. This also expanded how people saw Elie Saab as a designer. He wasn't just creating dreamy, romantic looks. He was crafting pieces that could adapt to different personalities and still feel iconic. But as bold as that transformation was, it raised an interesting question. What happens when you strip all that drama back again and still try to hold on to the magic? Emma Watson, the subtle fairy tale. Because not every fairy tale needs sparkle exploding from every angle, and Emma Watson proved that with quiet precision. After the high-impact presence of Beyoncé, Watson's take on Elie Saab felt almost like a reset. Her looks leaned into simplicity, but not the kind that fades into the background. This was controlled elegance. Clean lines, soft shimmer, and just enough detail to catch your eye without overwhelming it. At first glance, you might think her gowns were less dramatic. But look closer, and that's where the magic reveals itself. The craftsmanship was still there. The delicate embroidery, the careful layering, the way the fabric moved effortlessly. But instead of announcing itself, it invited you in. It made you look twice, and that's what made it powerful. Watson's style showed a completely different side of Saab's vision, one that didn't rely on volume or heavy embellishment to feel special. It proved that a fairy tale look could exist in a more modern, understated form, something refined, intelligent, and quietly captivating. It also connected with a different kind of audience. People who didn't want the full princess fantasy, but still wanted that sense of something elevated, something just slightly beyond reality. By this point, it was clear Elie Saab wasn't designing one version of magic. He was creating an entire spectrum of it. And that's exactly what makes the final takeaway even more interesting. Lily Collins, the real-life Cinderella moment. Because if there's one Elie Saab moment that truly looks like it was pulled straight out of a storybook, it's Lily Collins at the Met Gala. When she stepped onto the carpet, it didn't feel like a typical celebrity appearance. It felt like a character introduction. The gown, inspired by classic fairy tale silhouettes, featured soft, flowing layers and delicate detailing that instantly gave off a modern Cinderella vibe. But what made it stand out wasn't just the shape, it was the atmosphere it created. The soft pastel tones, combined with intricate embellishments, gave the dress a kind of quiet glow under the lights. It wasn't loud or overly dramatic, but it didn't need to be. The elegance spoke for itself. And unlike more revealing red carpet looks, this one felt refined, almost regal. It captured that rare balance between fantasy and sophistication, something that's actually harder to achieve than it looks. What made the moment even more powerful was how naturally she carried it. There was no over-the-top posing or forced drama, just calm, controlled confidence that made the entire look feel effortless. This wasn't just a dress trying to impress, it was a look that told a story. And in many ways, it perfectly represents what Elie Saab does best, creating gowns that don't just look beautiful, but feel like they belong in another world. But while this moment leaned fully into soft storybook fantasy, the next one takes that idea and transforms it into something far more understated, yet just as unforgettable. When you step back and look at all these moments together, it becomes clear that this isn't just about fashion anymore. From Halle Berry making history, to Angelina Jolie redefining elegance, to Taylor Swift bringing in that soft, modern fantasy, every single gown told a different story. Then you have Blake Lively turning heads with bold, royal energy. Beyonce transforming that fantasy into power, and Emma Watson proving that even simplicity can feel magical. Different styles, different personalities, completely different energies. And yet, they all share that same unmistakable feeling. That sense that what you're looking at isn't just a dress. It's a moment that exists slightly outside of reality. That's why these gowns don't fade like typical red carpet looks. Trends come and go. Styles change. But these? People still talk about them years later. Because they weren't just designed to impress for one night. They were created to last in memory. And once you've seen them, it's almost impossible to look at fashion the same way again.